You want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about sports in the state of Michigan?
You can't handle the truth!
Well, we're giving you the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast, the show that provides research and statistics about all the Detroit and Michigan sports teams, whether fans like it or not, and detects, exposes, and reveals actual and hidden facts and truth that the mainstream media doesn't want you to know. No junk, no entertainment, no homerism, no slappiness, no coddling, no pop culture, no conspiracy theories, no opinions, no shilling, and no fluff. Head over to our website, themichigansportstruthpodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at Michigan_Truth, and like and share our verified Facebook page, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Also listen to us on Spreaker, CastBox, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts via iTunes, and Spotify. The Michigan Sports Truth Podcast does not represent or defame any of the teams it covers, nor does it represent or compete against any mainstream media in the state of Michigan. It only detects, exposes, and reveals honest, actual, and hidden truth, facts, and statistics about them.
And welcome to another episode of the independent edition of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. I'm Taylor Phillips. Follow me on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at DT2Phillips.
Touchdown, Michigan!
The now 19th ranked Wolverines took much better care of the football in their easy 52-0 win over the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. To prove it, they didn't lose any fumbles. The only turnover they committed was just one inconsequential interception pass thrown by Shea Patterson. Sure, Rutgers may be Rutgers, but Michigan played much better, and they'll try to keep it up with the best of their abilities to keep the ball secure on offense and special teams, especially when they challenge the 14th ranked Iowa Hawkeyes Saturday at noon on Fox. Their such abilities will then be put to the test.
Touchdown, MSU!
The Spartans had some trouble with their defense in their hard-fought 40-31 win over the tough and upstart Indiana Hoosiers. That's why they're out of the top 25 again after being ranked 25th going into the game against Indiana. Granted, Brian Lewerke's offense came to life again to give the defense so many chances to put the game away, and the defense had a good couple drive stops, but the D simply allowed the game-winning touchdown with over a minute left, which forced the offense to drive all the way down to close to the goal line for Matt Coughlin to kick in a game-winning chip shot with precious seconds left. To seal the deal with extra icing on the cake, Indiana lost a fumble on the kickoff, and State recovered the ball in the end zone for an extra touchdown with no time left on the clock. Their defense simply has to play better this upcoming Saturday because they're in Columbus against the 4th-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes, who still have an elite program at a mental edge, the same mental edge that Urban Meyer used to have as head coach when the Buckeyes routed the Michigan Wolverines 62-39 last season at the Horseshoe. Last time MSU was at OSU in Columbus, OSU blew them out 48-3 2 years ago. Ouch.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Every Lions fan wants to blame the NFL referees for the Lions losing due to bad officiating. The officiating was actually not as bad as Lions fans everywhere always think. First and foremost, despite what Lions fans think, the team itself kept itself in the game, which was close the entire time. As far as the touchdown that was overturned, the receiver didn't squeeze the ball or maintain possession as it started being juggled by his hands when he landed both his 2 feet in the end zone. And the Lions lost at least 2 fumbles, including the one that got returned 99 yards for a touchdown. That clearly was a fumble by the running back in heavy traffic, Kerryon Johnson by name, by the way. Stop arguing like children, Lions fans. You always just want everything to go your way because you're so desperate for your team to finally get into the playoffs and win a Super Bowl, which they probably won't for another long time because they're the Lions, run into the ground by the Ford family for at least 62 years now. One playoff win in 62 years and still counting. That's the hashtag. And your nostalgia as fans of them, your team having an undefeated season is inevitably over, and some of you believe they'll finish the entire season undefeated. Are you people typically high? Get a life already. They have a bye week this upcoming Sunday before heading to Lambeau the week thereafter. Thank God Nicholas Cronwall and Thomas Vanek are both gone. They're both retired to prove it. Yes, the Red Wings have younger players such as an injured Dylan Larkin, who was injured in Tuesday's practice, a healthy Andreas Athanasiou, Anthony Mantha, and Tyler Bertuzzi, but they still have other veteran players with long-term contracts that haven't expired yet, some of which are about too soon. They still have Jonathan Eriksson, Justin Abdelkader, Darren Helm, Mike Green, Franz Nielsen, Trevor Daley, and Luke Glendening. And they're not getting any better anytime soon. As General Manager Steve Yzerman pointed out in his introductory press conference back in May, it's going to take time for the Red Wings to rebuild and climb back up into playoff contention. It is predicted this season they won't make the playoffs. They dropped the puck Saturday in Nashville at Bridgestone Arena against the Predators at 8 o'clock.
Left sideline, 3, and he answers.
According to the Athletic beat writer James Edwards III, the Pistons admittedly rode Blake Griffin like a cheap horse to push themselves to the playoffs last season. This season, they have a much more loaded roster with more potential. They have added Christian Woods, Seko Dubaya, Derrick Rose, Joe Johnson, Jordan Bone, Tim Frazier, Markieff Morris, Davidas Servaitis, Tony Snell, and Kyrie Thomas throughout the offseason. It has to be predicted the team finishes somewhere higher than 8th place in the Eastern Conference standings in the NBA, but we'll see what happens in the near future.
That one is long gone.
Tigers bench coach Steve Liddle has announced his retirement, so the team decided to move then hitting coach Lloyd McClendon to the bench coach vacancy. So that means Joe Vavra, a former hitting coach for the Minnesota Twins from 2006 to 2012, will be their new hitting coach. Expectations aren't too high as of right now in terms of the Tigers' offense, and this has nothing to do with the rest of the coaching staff, including manager Ron Gardenhire staying put, but a change was needed to try to improve their offense. Gardenhire, by the way, is entering the last year of his 3-year contract next year. That's all I have for this short installment of the Independent Edition. A reminder that the Michigan Sports Truth podcast is also prime time on Blog Talk Radio under Mancini Sports on the Stables Network. Listen online at blogtalkradio.com/Mancini Sports. And if anyone is interested in sponsoring our primetime edition on the Stables Network, please email our fine producer Mark Mancini at mancinisports@yahoo.com. Check out its website, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast.com. Like its verified Facebook page, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast, and follow its Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at Michigan_Truth. Also scour the Stables Network's new website, primetimewiththestablesnetwork.com. I'm Taylor Phillips signing off. Follow me on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at DT2Phillips. Thanks very much for listening, downloading, and sharing. And remember, the truth is out there.
ATFN, ta-ta for now.
The Michigan Sports Truth Podcast does not represent or defame any of the teams it covers, nor does it represent or compete against any mainstream media in the state of Michigan. It only detects, exposes, and reveals honest, actual, and hidden truth, facts, and statistics about them.
And mission complete.